What's going on, everybody? And I hope you're enjoying your Hump Day Wednesday afternoon, everyone. NYG Jeffrey T85 here, and it's time to talk about a little bit more of the New York Football Giants. We are in OTAs right now, concluding the first few days of OTA practices. Giants, veterans, and rookies mixing it up together, trying to get some continuity going with one another together. And today, there's an article on Big Blue View with Ed Valentine, and we're going to talk about today one of the players that was signed during the offseason to be part of this offense who I genuinely got excited about because I watched this kid back in Ohio State and I knew that this kid had a lot of talent, but unfortunately injury issues got to him early in his career. But now that he's going to get the opportunity in this New York Giants offense with Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka at the helm, we might be able to see the best that coming out of this player going into the 2023 NFL season, and that is 6 foot, 208 pound Parris Campbell. Parris Campbell coming into the NFL this year. Who signed a 1-year deal overall with the New York Giants for $470 million, or for $4.7 million overall. Parris Campbell is going to be coming into the Giants, looking to see if he can make and etch his name into this team and make an impact with Big Blue that he was starting to make with the Indianapolis Colts in the last season of his career. He was a former second-round pick back in 2019 at pick number 59 out of the University of Ohio State. He went to high school at St. Mary's in Akron, Ohio. And he's a guy that's 6 foot, 200 plus pounds, bigger frame wide receiver. Sort of reminds you a little bit of what Hakeem Nicks was. Remember Hakeem Nicks? 6'1", 6 foot receiver, around 212 pounds. He could beat you with some deep speed over on the inside and the outside. He could pluck the ball out of the air, yards after a catch type receiver. And he's also a guy that started to round into his own during his last year. Unfortunately, Parris Campbell, he dealt with some injury issues during his career, where in 2019, in his rookie season, he suffered a broken foot during week 14, and he finished the season with 18 catches for 127 yards during his rookie season overall, and 1 touchdown through 7 games. He dealt with several injury issues throughout his rookie year, including sports hernia, where it cost him 2 games, and a broken hand causing him to miss 4 games overall. In week 2020, Campbell caught 6 passes for 71 yards, but in week 2 he suffered a PCL and MCL injury in his left knee and was placed on injured reserve in September 20th, 2020, and missed pretty much his entire season. And then October 19th he was placed on injured reserve again on October 19th of 2021, and he missed pretty much the entire season, and he was activated off that list in January 8th, 2022. And then obviously, in 2022, Parris Campbell finally started to showcase some of the skills. The reason why the Indianapolis Colts drafted him in that second round back at pick number 59 in 2019, where he recorded 63 catches, 623 yards. He had 3 touchdowns on the season. He had about an average of 9.9 yards per catch with a long of 49 overall. And he carried the ball 5 times for 58 yards, with his long being a 28-yard run overall. You started to see slowly the playmaking ability of one Parris Campbell because he finally started to be healthy throughout the season. And he's one of those guys who has 4.3 speed in the inside. I think he's primarily going to be playing the slot, though he can eventually play on the outside too. You're going to most likely have Isaiah Hodgins, Darius Slayton, and Parris Campbell as your starting 3 receivers going into this NFL season, barring any type of injury. And I believe that Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka are going to try to utilize Parris Campbell's yards after the catch of the ability. They're going to use him as a deep threat over the middle, try to make sure they can engage him with some of his yards after the catch ability because he is a little bit of a bigger wide receiver in the inside. Isaiah Hodgins, I think, is going to be more that 50-50 guy on the outside because he is 6'4", 220 pounds plus or so wide receiver. Parris Campbell, he's going to win routes on the inside, not just with his speed. But like I mentioned, he's a bigger receiver on the inside. And I know for a fact the Giants need a playmaker like Parris Campbell over the middle of the field. This guy definitely has a solid outlook going into the season. And look at this wide receiver core right now in 2023. You got a couple of rookies that are going to be on the team, and Jalen Hyatt, the third-round pick out of Tennessee, and Bryce Ford-Wheaton, the undrafted free agent out of West Virginia. Plus, you got Sterling Shepard and Wan'Dale Robinson coming back from injury. You also signed Jeff Smith and Jamison Crowder as free agents. You got Colin Johnson, Isaiah Hodgins, Darius Slayton coming back as well on the team. Some from injury and some coming back just being part of the rotation. And there's really no clear-cut wide receiver one on this team. And he's likely going to begin below Darius Slayton and Isaiah Hodgins on the depth chart. But it's not as if either of them have cemented themselves as a number one wide receiver. Campbell signing presents an obvious issue. The Giants attempted to fix it. The problem with Campbell that everybody's going to worry about is that this guy is another one of those injury-prone wide receivers on this New York Giants team. The Giants have had a lot of guys on this roster right now that have currently dealt with or have been dealing with some type of injury so far on this team. I mean, like I said, you look at it. Sterling Shepard and Wan'Dale Robinson are both coming off ACL injuries during the season. Colin Johnson's coming off an Achilles injury during the offseason. Parris Campbell's been dealing with injury all throughout his career. Jamison Crowder's coming off an ankle injury or foot injury that he just came off this past offseason. You know, you have a lot of these wide receivers coming off injury, trying to come in here and make some type of impact, and there is no cemented number one wide receiver on this current roster. Is it inconceivable that Parris Campbell, if he learns the playbook and he flashed a little bit at OTAs, I know it's OTAs, but either way, he's starting to develop a chemistry with Daniel Jones early on, along with tight end Darren Waller. It is not inconceivable that if this guy could stay healthy, he could be that security blanket in the middle of the football field that Daniel Jones needs in terms of a reliable wide receiver over the middle of the field. Like I mentioned, this is a wide open wide receiver core. And it is not inconceivable to see somebody like Parris Campbell, who has upside and he has ability, 4.3 speed, 6 foot, 200 plus pound wide receiver. It is not inconceivable to see somebody like Parris Campbell make some major impacts in the middle of this football field and really help open up this New York Giants offense going into the season. Does not, and you pretty much signed him just for 1 year on $4.7 million. That is it. You're pretty much taking a gamble on this kid to see what type of impact he can make for Big Blue going into the season. It's not a long-term investment. It's not something that you're going to, if he gets hurt or it doesn't work out, you just move on and you go on to the next one. So this is not something that the Giants have to pretty much gloss over or think about. You just move on if it doesn't work out. But if it does, you get yourself a talented football player who might finally, at 25, going to be 26 years old, start honing himself into his career going into this year. And I like Parris Campbell. Like I mentioned, I watched this kid when he played at Ohio State. Always believed he had talent. He played with guys like Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin back in that Ohio State team from 2016 to 2019. He's a guy that has talent. He just has to avoid the injury bug. And if he could do that, he could be a potential impact player in this offense. And a wide open wide receiver position that has no clear-cut number one, who's to say that somebody like Parris Campbell doesn't put it all together and it could be that type of player that just fits in perfectly with Brian Daboll's offense. And you could see Parris Campbell take off in this Big Blue offense and become that number one receiver. It's going to be very fun to watch this wide receiver competition going into the training camp and preseason. He's one of those guys in this entire wide receiver position we are all going to be paying attention closely because he's one of those guys that is a low risk, high reward type player. And if he works out, the Giants might get themselves a gem at wide receiver going into this NFL season. But we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen. But just want to talk about Parris Campbell real quickly and why I believe he could be one of those low-cost, high-reward players. I was very happy when we signed him in free agency. I like what this kid can bring to the table. And if he can remain healthy, I think the Giants got a potential steal in free agency with Parris Campbell. Hit that like button if you haven't already, and give a sub to NYGJeffreyT85. More news, updates, and chatter surrounding the New York Giants. Turn on the bell for notifications of the next video or short dropping on the channel surrounding the New York Giants. And you guys let me know in the comment section what you think about the Giants signing Parris Campbell, his outlook going into the 2023 season. If you agree or disagree that he could potentially be a low-risk, high-reward player for Big Blue going into this season. And if you guys like the video, hit that super thanks at the bottom. Shows your appreciation for the channel. Thank you all for helping me reach 1 million views on my channel. Could not have done it without you guys. And sincerely, thank you all for the support that you've given my channel since its inception last March. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Hump Day Wednesday. Take it easy, and let's go New York Football Giants. As always, together blue, everyone.